I'm sure everybody is preoccupied with the news, the election, myself included. It's the type of thing that you can follow it so much ad nauseum, become so fixated, it can drive you crazy. So consider this to be a healthy diversion. Shabbos is coming, Parshas Vayeira. So we have in the beginning of the Sedra, Avram Avinu, he's the paragon of Chesed. Despite his infirmity, it's the third day after his bris milah. He spares no expense or trouble to take care of the three guests. You have later on in the Parsha, Lot. He also takes care of two out of the three who come to Sodom. And he maybe, one could argue, he was even more of a Moser Nefesh because it was against the law of the city of Sodom to have any guests. And therefore, he put himself and his entire family at risk. But yet, we consider Avraham to be the exemplar of Chesed and not Lot. Why is Lot overlooked? The Kedushas Levi has a really beautiful pshat, and it speaks to human nature. If you look at the pasuk, it says, with regard to Avraham, Vayar v'hinei shalosha anashim. When he saw these angels, they appeared as men. And probably not very impressive men at that. They were just wandering through the desert. And yet he takes them in and he is serving them hand and foot. Lot, the pasuk says, when he sees these two figures, it says, Vayavo shnei hamalachim. They came as angels. They were impressive. One could tell that they were important people. When somebody is in shul and he appears important, if a guest comes to town, a personage, a celebrity, so everybody wants to be the host. When it's a malach, when it's an angel, so to speak, everybody jumps at the opportunity. When it's the person in shul sitting in the last row who appears to be alone and perhaps a little bit, for lack of a better term, a little off, nobody's jumping at the opportunity to take him home. Avram Avinu saw in these three nomads chesed, a true form of chesed. He wasn't going to get anything out of it. He wanted to take care of others. Lot, it was more of a self-serving chesed, and there's a big difference. And that's why Abraham is known as the paragon of chesed and not Lot. Just to take this a step further, I'll tell you a story, and it's based also on a careful reading of the pasuk. It says, Vayar, Avram Avinu saw the three men, the angels, and then it says Vayar in that very same pasuk. He saw them again, and it's obviously redundant. So why does it say Vayar a second time? So here's the story. My Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Weinberg, had a call before Yontif Sukkos, and it was from a divorcee, a woman who was alone with three children, and she was asking a shaila, does she really need a sukkah to go to the trouble of building a sukkah? She is technically exempt, her children are young, so she was looking for that rubber stamp to say, you don't have to. Rabbi Weinberg said, it's true, you don't have to, but you're an important person, and I'm sure you want the mitzvah, so you should do it. And that was the end of the conversation. Maybe a day later, what arrives at her doorstep? A prefab sukkah, easy to assemble, all paid for, without it mentioning who it was sent from, who paid for it. But it was obvious it was from the Rosh Yeshiva. The first vayar in the pasuk is, you have a shaila, you have a question. I can answer your question. You're patur. You don't need the sukkah. Have a good yontif. The second vayar is, what would I feel like if I were in that position? She wanted a sukkah. It wasn't easy for her. If she had a heter not to have it, at least she could sleep at night. She wouldn't feel guilty. But really, she wanted the mitzvah. The second vayar is, imagine if you were in that person's position. How would you feel? What would you want? That's true chesed. That's the legacy of Avram Avinu. That's why we follow in his footsteps and that of Sarah Imenu. That's the ultimate example of chesed. Wish everybody well. Don't worry. Everything will be okay. Hashem controls everything. Have a wonderful Shabbos.